Okay guys, so there's a couple things we need to do to get this set up so we can test out the whole following and we'll actually set the whole following stuff up. So let's work on that. So the first thing we want to do is, well, the first thing that I've done is in my view controller, my main view controller for my collection view, I took out the data pool that's pulling in the post, and I actually popped that code into this feed load. So this is everything from Firebase where we're pulling the information. Now, in our last video, I showed you the suggested user, and I had some just dummy data here. And I'm going to end up doing that again instead of pulling from Firebase. So what I'm going to do is I need to create an array of users and then return that user so that way I can populate that cell. So I'm just going to uncomment this. So I want to create a array of users that I can feed back. It could be a single user, but most likely if you have multiple users, you're going to want to pull back an array. And our user class here is going to require a few things. Let's see if we have the auto finish. So user, and no, we don't have it. So let's go ahead and just go to our user class, and we know that this is what we need to use. And since we're not going to use these, I'm actually just going to comment these out. And then I'm just going to get rid of them in here too. So I have a username, an image, and a user ID. I don't need this stuff here, and I don't need any of this here. Okay. So now it's just one user, one image, one user ID. Now I'm just going to go here, and we don't need these either right now since we're not actually do anything with it. So I'm just going to go to my collection storyboard, and I'm just going to do a split, and I'm just going to get rid of, I'm just going to do automatic, and just let me spread this out for you. So as you see, these are hooked up to our different elements in our user board, but we don't need these. So I'm just going to select this and just get rid of the outlet. Okay, so that cleans it up a lot. Now that we've done that and we've taken care of the class, the next thing we want to do is pass our user. Let's set that up. So I'm going back into our user class, and I'm just going to get rid of, I commented stuff out, but I'm just going to get rid of it just to keep it clean. I don't need this anymore. Okay, so I'm going to need to pass this stuff in to create a user. So I'm just copying that, and I'm just going to go to our system where I'm just going to be manually putting this in. You'll probably pull this from a Firebase database, but for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and manually pull this in. And if I go into Firebase, so I have this one. I think I'll use that since I'm already following everyone else. And I'm not following this user. So I'm just going to get this information. Control C. And I'm going to go back here. We know that this is not an int. So let's go back into user, just fix that really fast. We know that this is actually a string for the user ID. And then this is a string. And I think, is there anything else that we need to do? Let's assume no right now. And like I said, let's go back into our faux kind of load. And I'm just going to go ahead and put the values in here for this user. So we have a new user here. We have an image here, and we have their user ID here. And we're passing that back. And do a did set. So when we actually get a user, we want to set a value for the user. Well, we want to actually set the information into this label. So we want their image to appear here and their label to appear here. We also want their user ID, and we're going to take that there. So we're just going to want to get their user ID, and that's users from here. So when we did set that, what we're going to do is just update our UI. So I'm just going to create a function that only this class can access. So now that we've done that, we want to call it function, we want to say update UI. So when this value is set in this cell class, we're going to just update the UI with the information. So I'm just going to go ahead and say image one.image.sd. Actually, let's do SD web image. So I'm going to use that to actually update this image. Okay, so we have to get rid of this stuff. So this is where we hard coded these images in. So I'm just going to just for now just go ahead and just comment this stuff out because we won't be using it. We'll go back and delete it shortly. Okay, so we're going to say if let our user here equals self dot user, then what we want to do is we want to go ahead and set the label one dot, well, if we have it, dot text is going to be equal to user dot username. All right, so we see that there's actually nothing popping up here. So the intent is that we're going to want something to pop up there, but the thing is, in our user selection, we haven't actually done anything. So let's just get rid of all of this. It's not necessary anymore. And what we want to do is we want to set our user. So here we're saying, let's say we want to create, let suggested user equal a user, right? Because that's what we're actually passing in, right? Yep, so this user is going to be equal to the suggested user. So if we're able to make the cell of suggested collection view cell, so our suggested user collection view cell, which we should be because we hooked our nib up to that class. Actually, let's go back into user selection. So if we're able to save this as, or cast this as a suggested user collection cell, then what we want to do is just, we want to say that our cell dot user is equal to our suggested user. And if we go into this class one more time so I can show you where I got that from, we created this. So this user var, if we're able to set this, then we're going to update the UI, and then that way we should get everything. Okay, so let's see, have we forgotten anything? We're just going to set the label just to make sure that that works right. All right, let's try it again, see if we get anything. All right, so we're at least getting our new user here. We need to work on the label. And I don't know if I still have this print statement in here or not. I don't. But I want to print my user if this button is pressed. So if I press this button, yep, we sure do. We get our user's ID. This is going to help us because we're going to need to take this user ID and add the fact that we requested this user in Firebase. Image1.image SD web image. So let's see how that worked. Cool. So we have our user, we have their image here, and if I click follow, we get their user ID. All right, so that looks like we have everything we need. So I can go ahead and I think I'm good to go now. And in our next video, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do our following. So if this is all set up for you already, you can definitely ignore this video. I just need to set this up, and I didn't want to set it up without you guys seeing how I set it up. So that's why I went ahead and did it in this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.